The most competitive companies may be the most creative ones. At least that's the idea from veteran advertising leader Andrew Robertson, the chairman of BBDO Worldwide. His new book is called The Creative Shift: How to Power Up Your Organization by Making Space for New Ideas. In the book, he shares lessons from his 40-plus years in the advertising industry. And Andrew, it's great to see you on set.
Wonderful to be here.
Congratulations on the book, first of all.
Thank you. Thanks.
The creative shift. You are somebody who has worked in a creative industry, but what you've taken away from it is that every organization, every industry needs to be looking at ways to unleash creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and I make a distinction between innovation, which everybody talks about and should do, where I think you're constantly improving existing solutions, and that helps your business in percentages, and genuine creations, where you create a new product, you create a new service, you create a new process, a new route to market, where the impact is measured in orders of magnitude. And to do that, you need creativity. And what I've observed over, as you kindly say, 4 decades, a long, long time. I'm an old guy. What I've observed with lots of clients...
You're a wise man, that means.
That's a good one.
Right.
Wizened, anyway.
Lots of clients in lots and lots of different verticals is they grapple with unlocking creativity inside their organization.
Because bureaucracy slows things down?
Well, I mean, bureaucracy is a harsh word, but the reality is that the things that make businesses really good businesses, predictability of results, operational excellence, executional brilliance, process compliance, all of those things suppress creativity rather than unlock it. And my argument is not that these companies should change into something else, because I don't want them to. They're good at what they do because they do it that way, but that they should use the same discipline to engineer the conditions that allow them to unlock the creativity of their people when and where they need it. And that's kind of the essence of the shift that I'm arguing for.
Let's talk about some stories, because I think a lot of times we learn through stories. You described one situation, I think it was a bank in Australia, where you had a very kind of out there ad campaign. And you went to the bank CEO and were surprised by his answer.
Well, yeah, it was a great aha moment for me, actually, because...
what was the campaign? The
campaign was for NAB, National Australia Bank. And what we'd discovered was that consumers thought all 4 banks were in cahoots with each other. Imagine that.
What is this, post-financial crisis?
Yeah, 2012. Yeah. And despite the fact that NAB had launched lots of great new products and services, nobody would listen to them because they couldn't get past that first hurdle. So we came up with this campaign called The Big Breakup, where NAB broke up with the other 3 banks on Valentine's Day. It was very funny. It was like, letters saying, it's not us, it's you. We're fed up with your lying and your cheating. We're going our own way. You're dumped. Hugely successful, hugely successful. And I went to see the CEO of the bank afterwards and said, well, that was really bold of you. And he looked at me and he said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, breaking up with the other banks in public. That's a bold thing to do. And he said, you're out of your mind. I'm a banker. I'm not paid to be bold. I'm paid to manage risk. And when your guys came in and showed me this idea and talked about how amazing it would be, I could see it might be, but I didn't know that. What I was able to do was quantify the downside. And when I looked at the downside, I figured we would never lose a retail customer. We wouldn't lose a corporate client. We might, worst case, be laughed at for 6 weeks, but then something else would come along. And on the basis that I could live with the downside, I went ahead. And it was a real aha moment for me, because what I observed when people are evaluating ideas is one of 2 things. Either everybody's saying, let's be bold, which isn't always smart and it's hard, or pursuing certainty. And the inevitable result of the pursuit of certainty is the average. That's the closer you get to certain, the closer you are to the average. As opposed to genuinely managing risk. We can't quantify the upside. We can guess at it. The downside you usually can. And it's usually nowhere near as bad as you fear it might be without thinking about it. And so that shift of, when I say to people, don't be bold, think like a banker when you're coming to judge ideas, I think is really important.
All right, let me think about that from advertising campaigns that have run awry. Bud Light. What happened? Did they not think about the potential downside?
They didn't. That's exactly what they didn't do. And that, I think, is a good example of, if you think of the maths of it, and you go through it and you say, you know, pick an issue. We're picking an issue where the world is divided neatly into two, where there are people with big megaphones that are going to could make a lot of noise about this. I think that is a classic case of the downside not having been properly quantified. The upside everybody could see in that particular case.
That wasn't a 50-50, though.
It was close, that issue. You think it's 2080?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Obviously.
Okay.
From what happened.
Same point.
Yeah.
You're talking more than just about creativity and advertising, though, and I think we should get that. Like the idea of a company like Amazon being able to get great ideas from further down the ladder is another one of the examples you bring up.
Precisely. I mean, I would say advertising is really important, wouldn't I? Because that's what I do. But I'm talking about ideas that are generated within companies that are transformative. Prime, Amazon Prime, the idea for that came from a junior software engineer. Didn't come from a load of people sitting saying, you know, we're responsible for the loyalty program. Junior software engineer came up with that. And they found a way to, even in a company like Amazon, which is so disciplined, so operationally brilliant, has to be, but their people had those ideas. And I think that's what you want to unlock.
Like how did that happen at Amazon?
Honestly, I don't know. The only reason I know that I saw a video on TikTok of Jeff Bezos talking about it, and somebody asked him where the idea for Prime came, and he said a junior software engineer. But I think it's possible to do this if you engineer the conditions, and it's you know, you don't want it all of the time. AT&T's got a third of the world's data crossing its network today. I don't want some guy saying, I've got an idea how we can make... But every now and again, when you're going to need to design a new service or a new product offering, you really do need it. And your people have the creativity. It's just that the way we all work suppresses it. And one of the biggest things is the expectation that you've got to have a good idea.
I was going to say, are there bad ideas?
There are bad ideas, and you want as many of them as you can get.
Why?
Because the key to generate... It's pure maths. If only one idea in 10 is good, you need 10 ideas. And the expectation that most of us operate on is not that you need 10 ideas, it's that you need one good one.
The problem is you don't want to run amok chasing down, trying to figure out which of the 10 is the good idea or which of the 1,000 is the good idea and spend too much time chasing that down.
Well, if you are disciplined about it, you create a certain amount of time when you're going to generate ideas. And when you're generating, you don't judge. You just generate lots of ideas. And the more you generate, the more likely you are to come up with something that's really good. Yeah. Then you have a separate period of time where you judge the ideas that you've generated. All too often what happens in companies and in life is that the generation and judgment conflate, and you're judging as you're developing.
Which means people will not raise their hand for
They won't. Yeah. They won't. Because it's a lot to come up with a good idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard.
Right. And if you're really good, maybe you only need 5, 1 out of 5. If
brilliant.
You're really bad, you might need like 100.
100, correct. But nobody really starts with 1.
Be nice to not need 100, though. But that's why some people are talented and succeed much more than other people.
Because they can generate the 100 fast, and that's the mind. And honestly, if you look at kids, there's an amazing bit of research done in the 60s. A guy called George Land did it for NASA, because they wanted to identify their most creative engineers to give them the biggest problem. So he developed a creativity test. And he then used it to track a cohort of kids, because he wanted to answer the question, is creativity nature or...
Is it beaten out of us over time?
Well, he wondered whether you were born with it or you learned it.
Yeah, I also wonder if you get beaten out of it.
You do. At the age 5, 98% tested as genius. Mm-hmm. By the time they were 10, 30%. By the time they're 15... 12%.
Follow the rules. Do what we say. Be a good kid.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I talk about engineering the conditions, it's somehow getting people into a zone where they can behave and think like 5-year-olds.
See, that's what we do, because they've been trying to wrap us for 3 minutes and we haven't.
They have. We've known each other long.